Here we are.
Sorceress, a wild magic sorceress turned warlock of a god, of a patron who has so far turned out to be a pyramid scheming loan shark. Yeah, general nice guy.
Hello, I am playing total, the total, the
The,
total barbarian
the
Qar.
lovable and fuzzy Qar.
Yes.
Your turtle is fuzzy? He fell into a chicken coop. Fuzzy? Chicken coop? What?
Yes.
Not asking any more questions. I'm walking away. I have no idea what you're talking about. Hello, I'm Sarelth. Oh, that's a. How dare you look at me like? I know, so cute. I'm the I'm the dungeon master and general pain in the ass. I'll be I'll be I'll be here all night, at least most of it.
Dungeons and dating, enough said.
We are LGBT plus QRYSTL we W whatever. I don't know what all the numbers and letters are anymore. It seems to add up every time I blink. That sounds right. We're artists. All right. So in recent news, Lyrathiel snuck off in the middle of the night while Qar was taking his beauty rest because she
Okay.
figured I can put an alarm on the room. I'll be back before he notices anything because she got a letter under the door that said, "Meet me over here by the clock tower. I need to have words with you." And it was slid under the door specifically after you passed out when she was on duty. So it's like slid
Okay.
under the door just after you saw, probably watching you.
Okay.
So that happened, and she was like, "Oh, okay, I can do this." She put an alarm on the room, made sure everything was all good and kosher. And then she left, and then she went to meet this person. Person turned out to be a drow. And she was an alchemist.
Okay.
Rose's character succeeded at a perception check and noticed that this particular female had a tattoo on her wrist of a single black rose petal with a black thorn under it.
Okay.
She went, "Hey." And the other person said, "Yes, I was a member of the Thorns of the Black Rose. I'm trying to get away from them. My friend, who works at the warehouse, has been gone for a week. Got shifted to the night shift, but hasn't been seen since. I'm very worried about him."
Okay.
She gave off that vibe of being more than just worried about a friend.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Lyra then went to the train yard. She watched for a while, seeing what was going on, and saw. There might have been a step that I'm missing, but this is the basic gist of what happened next.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think you talked to someone that said talk to him. And then you went looking for this guy. And this guy was in the train yard, and he's known as the Tally Man. Exactly. The whole Tally Man thing again, right?
Yep.
So she waited him out, and she confronted him, and he asked her if she was looking for a contract.
Mm-hmm.
She sort of accepted his contract, but didn't sign it or make any sort of agreement with it. Instead, used it to go and call out what she thought was the person in control. So she called for management, basically.
Okay.
Yes.
A red-skinned individual showed up. He appeared out of
Sexy
nowhere.
Daddy!
You saw the picture
Reverse,
of him.
right? Oh.
Yeah.
And he introduced himself, but he didn't introduce
Be
himself. He
careful.
didn't give her name, technically.
No, he gave her his name later.
Not right off the bat. Not right off the bat.
Yeah, later.
So he didn't at first give her his name, and he just played the role well, and she assumed he was the big cojones. So she talked to him like such and made a deal with him, and she was able to be convinced to sign a contract. She did thus, and then realized, actually not that long after signing said contract, that, wait a minute, you're not, oh shit.
Motherfucker.
Because she realized that he was a middleman, not the big cojones.
She's not too happy about that, by the way.
That makes sense.
She then proceeded to do some stuff. She actually got three, isn't it now? You've talked to 3 NPCs that you've made slight contracts with?
Yes. Callum, Elmira, and Alandor I've made contacts with.
She made a deal with the Alchemist. The Alchemist is now heading back to Port Haven to join your growing ensemble of characters. She'll be a background NPC.
Okay.
She's made a deal with Callum, the dude that was with, or that she wanted her to go find.
Yep.
He is gone to Port Haven with her because obviously she figured out there was a little bit of a romantic tie between those 2 characters, so she didn't want to break them apart. She got him a job with Alandor.
And that's what her other technical half of a contract.
Alandor hasn't agreed to any contract, so she doesn't have an actual signed or anything contract. But she's inferred one.
Yes. He agreed to sign a basic one that was...
No, he didn't agree to sign anything. He specifically did not agree to anything.
Okay.
He went along with what you were saying, but never once agreed to anything.
Fair.
You, as a player, didn't notice, and at the time, I didn't think to ask if you're for an insight check, or if I did, you didn't make it high enough. And your character also didn't notice that he was intentionally not agreeing to anything while talking to you.
That's important to know.
Very important to know. That's why I emphasized it at the time, but you didn't notice it.
It didn't sound like you had emphasized that. Come on, work on research, pen.
That's the point of subtle emphasis.
Me and subtlety! You know this!
I'll teach you eventually.
Nuances are difficult for my brain. You need to tell me the fucking point that you're pointing out.
Sometimes you catch them. Sometimes you do. That's why I teach you this way. I like to test you. I'm getting you to figure these things out.
Clearly, I was not paying attention last 2 days.
After then renegotiating her deal a little bit to get those two better deals, basically, she sent them packing. They are going to get ready
And yes,
to
I'm
head back
working.
to Port Haven via the train in a day or two. They're not rushed for any reason, so they don't need to be in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, if you need to talk to them, you can talk to them for whatever reason.
In the process of saving Callum, she took on the entirety of his debt that he already owed to
Work is
the
D&D,
devil
so
in
work is good.
question. And then when she made a deal with Callum, she gave him back his debt, but instead of it being linked to the devil, it's now linked to Lyra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Meaning he owes her, not her boss. Though that means he owes her boss too, technically. It's one of those things where either she can collect or either her boss can collect on that debt, or technically one of the other enforcers, because her boss would probably send them, not himself.
Not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm entering chat.
All right. Was there anything else that we had done? That needs to be touched upon, I mean, right? I think there was a couple side conversations we were having, but...
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go find my dad in Arkarthas.
Oh yeah,
He
she
done
found out
fucked
her
up
dad
real
is in
hard.
Arkarthas.
All
And
right.
he's
And
one
how
of the
pissed
people
off,
that owes
how
the boss.
thoroughly, and this is more so for those watching, how thoroughly pissed off I was at you for the devil not being the sexy man! How thoroughly pissed off I was! So mad. I wrote it in my notes like, oh, he could be the devil, blah, blah. Purposely noted it in my notes. Not the devil. And I even crossed it out down here too. And in bold on Discord, I was like, not the devil! I was so mad when I found that out. Thoroughly pissed off. He will not
Bait
hear
and
the end of that
switch,
for a
bait and
while.
switch. Bait and switch.
He's not gonna hear the end of that for a while.
Ah, that's fine.
So mad.
All
So
right,
fucking
so
mad at you.
I think that is the catch up as to what happened, getting Qar up to par. Now you are back in the room with Qar, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You were finishing up your little thingy, but you could do that while writing. You didn't have to talk, so you weren't keeping anyone awake. And so you're sitting